Well, good morning. It is Sunday. It's nearly the end of the month here. And guess what? Fuel is going up constantly. So, it would probably be a really good idea to fill your tank up if you can. Because we don't know what's happening here. Biden's done some crazy stuff with the fuel jobs. Texas is suing him, so are the Indians. So he's giving orders to stop all production. I just don't know why. I mean, we're not even to the point of, 80% electric cars yet. And they haven't even, perfected all of that yet. So it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I had a friend of mine tell me the other day, oh, my boss is going to help me get into stocks. And this was Thursday. And I'm like, why? And he's like, well, because he makes money in it. And now let me tell you what they do. Maintenance on apartment buildings in Destin. Okay? Maintenance man. And so this guy's his supervisor. So, really? Don't you think that if this guy was making bank, that he would not be cleaning toilets and changing light bulbs? I mean, yeah, everywhere there's a beginning, but I'm going to tell you, stocks and bonds is very, very risky. Like I had told him, I said, you really have to know about stocks and bonds and trading. Do you know anything about that? No. And I said, well, I'm going to tell you right now, as many years as I've known you, I know you don't even have the money. He just moved out of an apartment that he owes $5,000 on for non-payment of rent due to Corona, and he was only out of work a week. He's worked all the rest of the time. And he was making little bitty payments here and there to them. And he moved out with a debt over $5,000, which ruins any future trying to rent anything right now. He's staying with his daughter. And that's not the first go around. I mean, he had to have a surgery and he couldn't work for a while, a few times in the years, and didn't get his total unemployment or whatever, and I mean, in Florida, the maximum unemployment you get is $275 or something like that. It's $250, $275, something like that. That's the max you can get. But if you're in Massachusetts, you'd get $800 a week. It's amazing. But anyway, let's go. It means drive the car, put your foot on the gas pedal. It might go forward. But anyway, so I told him, I said, you just don't even have that kind of money to play in the stock market. I don't care if you're buying penny stocks. Tennessee tourist is totally confused. And so I told him, I said, you really have to know what you're doing. You have to pay a broker. And he's like, well, he makes money at it. He showed me proof. I said, yeah, but did he show you all the stuff that he lost? Because I'm telling you that it's a game that you just don't want to play. You just don't. And I said that, first of all, the economy is entirely too fragile right now. And the market crashed, at the beginning of the pandemic, and it's looking to crash again. Now, I had talked to him on Thursday, okay? I wonder what they're selling out here. It must be art selling or something. So, I was like, well, you know, let me tell you about some people I knew when I was a kid in Marshalltown, Iowa. And the father had money. I mean, they had antique car collection of Corvettes and I don't know what else. And they used to send their son out from Marshalltown. Most of the time he'd drive one of the classic cars, like a 50s Corvette or whatever that was mint, and come out and take sailing lessons from my dad. And his name was Paul Schwartz. And his daddy owned a huge scrap metal. I don't know what else his daddy owned, but I imagine his daddy's passed away by now. But he owned a huge company, huge scrap metal. And his dad was heavy into stocks. And the market crashed big time. And they lost everything. I had talked to Paul back around 1986, and I said, so, you know, did you ever get that Ferrari? Because his daddy had bought him a Ferrari, put it in the garage, and told him, okay, when you graduate college, the car's yours. And he had a bright red, beautiful, brand new Ferrari. And so Paul would go out there and wax it like once a week and stuff. He was not allowed to drive it until he had graduated from college. And Paul was just going nuts. He's like, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I can't believe he won't let me drive it. So, let's turn these lights on, turn some wiper on here. It's raining a little bit today. And so, I told him, I said, well, so did you ever get that Ferrari? He said, oh, yeah. And I said, well, you still got those bets and stuff? He said, oh, God, no. He said, my dad lost in the stock market, and we just lost everything. And I was like, what? So, that was really sad. No telling how much money they were. But that's how fast it can go in a blink of an eye. So I looked online at the stock market, and there's been a little bit of ruckus going on lately with GameStop and some other stuff. Do you know the market crashed Wednesday? Yeah, the market crashed Wednesday, and I talked to this guy on Thursday. So I sent him a message to his phone. I said, let me explain something to you. I said, the market crashed on Wednesday. And it's going to crash again. And I sent him a link about investing in the stock market this year. And, you know, that's a big boys game. That's for people that have serious money, that like to play around in that and know a little bit about it. You know, like I told him, I said, you know, the best thing you can do is go try to take a course on stock and investing and stuff, or banking course, and try to learn a little bit about it. You know, and then maybe you can save on brokerage fees, because you got to pay a broker too. But, because they help you set up your portfolio. Don't believe they're always right, okay? I'm just going to tell you that right now. But, I mean, you'd be better off going to the casino, playing a little bit, and taking some cash out of there than you would to risk stocks. You know, I got a kid that went and was going to school and wanted to make money, and before she was even 21, she had made $20 $1,000, turned around and wanted to invest it in long-term investment in the bank, and I said, don't do it. She says, why? And I said, well, because you can't take it back out. She says, oh yeah, I can take it back out if I have to, you know. They said I could, and all. I said, yeah, but they're going to penalize you terrible. And she said, no, it's okay, I'm going to do it. So she had taken a bunch of that money and put it in a long-term savings account. And about 2-3 years later, she broke up with her boyfriend, and she needed the money and had to cash out, and she lost a huge amount of it. That's the thing with, you know, long-term investments and investments. Right now, I would kind of live for today. I mean, I can tell you some great things to invest in, you know, in the stock market, like, you know, electric cars and solar, food delivery, RV parks, RV building, things like that, you know, any to-go stuff, you know. But, I mean, other than that, I'm telling you, it's just, today's world is just not that good right now. It's not stable. So, you know, that, I don't know why this is sitting sideways. So that, you know, it's just not a good investment to play in the stocks. You have to really know what you're doing. So I kept telling him, I said, that's a big no. No, 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 no. You don't have the money. You don't have the education for it. I said, I don't even have the education for it. You know, and I'm just telling you. I worked for a stock brokerage in Beverly Hills, Stern, Frank, Meyer, Fox. They paid me excellent money. I took the school buses from school at St. Monica's and all the way to Beverly Hills, and went into work after school till about nighttime. And they were doing a merger, and so I had to take all these papers and fold them up the proper legal way, stuff them in an envelope, and then seal them, and then put them in a box. And I did thousands and thousands of those. And they paid me really good money for that. It was a really ultimately boring job. And I read, you know, the documents and stuff, and you know, it's some really educated stuff, and visited with some of the stockbrokers and all that, and, you know, they made their money helping people learn how to trade and advising people on, you know, how to invest their money and stuff. And, you know, some of them made pretty good money. But, you know, then again, you know, if you're investing in stocks, you got to pay another party to handle your stuff. And, you know, there's just no guarantees. I mean, my dad used to get inside trading tips from people, and then consider investing, and he did just a little bit, but he was not big on it. My dad is one of those that doesn't believe in credit at all. No loans, no debts, just only buy stuff you can afford to buy. Whether it's a house renovation or a business, a car, only buy what you can buy. He learned his lesson years and years ago. And, you know, I watched him at 12 years old going through a bunch of bills at the table at the house, and he was just in tears. And I mean, this is the toughest, coldest man I ever knew in my life, and he was just in tears and bright red. And I watched him take the scissors and cut his credit cards up. And he just said, this is just really dumb. No more. I'm done. that's one of the most valuable lessons I think I've ever learned. And my dad, became a millionaire after that. And everything he had, he actually owned. Which was funny because, we'd ride around in the car around Marina Del Rey, California, and I'd say, man, I want to date that guy, because there'd always be somebody driving with a Lambo or a new Ferrari or new Porsche or Rolls Royce or Bentley driving by. You go, wow, what is that car? And my dad laughed and he'd say, well, the only thing I can tell you is, does he own it or does he not? He said it's probably leased. He said it's not what car they drive and all that stuff. He says it's what do they not owe? How much are you seriously worth financially that you don't owe a debt on? And that's a fact. I'm going to tell you, if you ever come to hard times, debt is really frightening. And a lot of people have realized that this year with the pandemic. And the most frightening thing is, debt. I mean, I don't have any debt, so I didn't have to worry about a lot of that. Like, I sat there and I thought about people with storages, people with, credit card debts, or house payments, or, medical insurance, just all kinds of things. And I thought, God, I wonder what these people are doing when they can't work in the lockdown or anything. I wonder what happens, And so that really brings you to harsh reality, if you think about it, because here's a pandemic we never thought would happen. Never thought I'd see anything look like this. But, I thank God that I didn't have all kinds of debt that I would have to worry about when we did total shutdown. I was really happy. The only thing I had to handle was like my car insurance and my rent and utilities. And that is it. Because all my cars, I've paid in full for all my cars for several years. I just go out and buy them cash outright. And that's just the way I did it. I'm tired of paying car payments. I'm tired of being scared if something happens tomorrow. I just buy it outright. If I can't afford it, I'm not buying it. That's just the way it is. So, for me. And I was one of the lucky ones, I would say. Because I'm sure a lot of other people weren't like that. It was just, treacherous. What people had probably gone through during the pandemic with debt. I remember there was a guy that owned Chandler Sewing Factory that did clothes, and they did like high-end clothes and the medium-end clothes, and that was in West Helena, Arkansas. And the guy had a bit of money, and his son got into a lot of casino debt, huge amounts of casino debt when Tunica started building with casinos. And his dad had to bail him out and all that, and it cost him his company. And the factory sat closed for years and years. And it was really sad. There were so many people that worked there, for years. And it was really sad that none of these people had jobs anymore. They kept laying off till they just ended up closing. They would only keep so many people, and they would get more and more layoff, more and more layoff. And then they would keep just the top sewers that just did huge amounts of piecework. But that dad ended up blowing his head off because he was bailing his son out of debt and he couldn't get it all. And he gave up and he blew his flipping head off over his kid's debt. Casino debt. When you walk into a casino, the first rule you need to know is don't play on scared money. That's really bad. If you go in there with some money, the first thing you got to think about is, well, I'm just going to go spend this money and have fun. If I win, great. If I lose, oh well. So if you have that kind of money, you know, to go have fun like that, whatever, which I've done a lot of time in casinos and made huge money in casinos. I won a house on the casinos. I'd put myself through college on the casinos. And had gold cards to all of them in Tunica, so I had free hotels, food, anytime, for me and my friends. And all it cost me is gracious tips. And you figure you're getting it free, you need to tip really good to take care of the folks. But, you know, it's not... I'm one of those lucky ones. You know, I'm extremely lucky in gambling. But I don't do it unless I think, you know, I have that feeling I might win. So if I don't have the feeling that I'm gonna win, then I just don't do it. But I'm careful about my money. So, you know, it's really sad to see a life taken over that. But, you know, bottom line, you've got to watch your pennies. You've got to think about, what if everything stops tomorrow? Because the pandemic was very cold reality. People just go, oh, nothing will ever happen, nothing will ever happen. In my lifetime, I have never seen anything like this pandemic in my life. In my lifetime. Okay, I don't know about people before me, but in my lifetime, I have never seen anything like this. So it was a big shock to me too, but you know, again, like the sailors say, it's Murphy's Law. If it can happen, it will. And that's a very true term. So, always be prepared. If it can happen, it will. When my houses got wiped out by a tornado, and I was at the top of the heap, I learned right there, nothing is forever. And I put everything I had into that property. One, because it had a good resale value just on the dirt alone. You know, if it burned to the ground, the dirt was worth a lot of money. I was already ahead of the game. And if I'd never swung a hammer, I was ahead of the game, period. But I did. And, you know, when I had the same insurance company that the 80-year-old lady that owned the house that died had, and my cousin had sold it to her at his front door, and he was like 15. And so when the house got hit, they didn't pay. They went out of business the next day. 8 houses were hit, and I was the only one left standing. But it did a horrendous amount of damage. And I had bought the house from one of my little girls, and in the event that I died, that, you know, it would be hers, and it was going to be the last one I renovated. Big old storybook Victorian house, 200 years old. She didn't want it. After it got hit, I said, you know, it's going to take a lot of money. I have to have custom scaffolds built because the house is so big. They don't make scaffolds that big. And I have to get a crane in here to lift, you know, what's left of the roof off and set a new roof on it. And so, you know, you want the house or not? And she was like, no and hell no. So I said, okay, I'm not putting it together. You know, I tried to hire the fire department and use it for a demo for burn practice. They said, no, it's just entirely too big, and it will set the properties next door to it on fire. And I was like, oh. I called a scrapper, Bill Bennett. little heavy black guy that used to be a maintenance guy at the college. And I said, look, you know, you want to scrap this house for me? And he was like, you know, hustling me, just hustling me. And then I'd put it in on the internet and had a guy contact me. I think it was in Louisiana. He had a RV parks. And he only let them put those those silver old-timey RVs like Lucy and Ricky used to have. I forget what you call those things. And that was his dream, to have an entire RV park with those old trailers on it. And so he took over a really old property, and he was needing the wood to rebuild it with original wood, which that's what my house was built out of. And the house was all cedar. And so he had a great interest in the wood. And I said, come get it. And he offered me some good money. And then, I don't know, we lost touch or something. We talked for a couple months. And then we lost touch. And, but later somebody had set fire to the house. Which I have a feeling it was my neighbor. He kept saying stuff like, why don't you take a Coke bomb and throw it in there and set it on fire? And I was like, do what? I said, you can't do that. I said, I tried to have the fire department to do it, but I'm not, you know, going to do some illegal stuff and endanger people. But I just had an interest to scrap it out because the land was worth a ton of money. And it was commercial residential zone, so you could do just anything with it. And I always said, you know, if the houses didn't make, well, in the renovation, well, then I would, you know, put like an RV up there temporarily and put storages there, or put, you know, townhouses or something there. You know, I could do anything with it. And but the insurance didn't pay, so they ran and reopened 6 months later. I was so mad. Oh, I was so mad. All that insurance paid by that lady that owned it before, and me too, the same company, and the suckers ran and hid and did not pay. It was ridiculous. So nothing is forever. That's a fact. So watch your pennies. Be careful today. And the economic situation is just not good. With the new president, there's some really strange changes going on. Don't know how many more will be there, but this economy is extremely fragile at this point. And it may last a while. It might last a year or two. Don't know. But anyway, it's kind of one of those, you should stand back and observe, you know. Don't say anything, just stand back and observe. Because you might be the smartest one in the end. Talk to you guys later. I love you. Have a great one.